One of the questions people ask most frequently whenever there is a storm or a flood or a drought is this because of climate change? And there is a component of these events which is due to climate change, but we also know that these events are natural. They've been occurring for thousands of years. There are droughts in the Bible. There are evidence of massive flooding in the geologic record. So not everything that happens, of course, is entirely due to climate change. There is, however, a way of generating scientific evidence about the likelihood or the contribution that climate change has contributed to any given event. So I'm going to summarize a review paper by Peter Stott in Science in 2016, some of the ways that this is done. It's called attribution science, and it generally involves running a global climate model without climate change, meaning with pre-industrial levels of greenhouse gases, and then again with climate change, meaning current levels of greenhouse gases and current climate, and then seeing what the difference is between those two sets of model runs. So one way to do it is to choose an index, like an index for heat waves, for example, and see what's the likelihood of that threshold that was observed being exceeded in the non-climate change runs versus the climate change runs. Another way of doing it is running the global climate models many times, generating what we call an ensemble, and then seeing how much more frequently that particular event would have occurred with climate change versus without climate change. So it takes a while for scientists to do these studies and then to get them published, but I can give you one example from 2017. You may have heard of Hurricane Harvey that flooded a big part of southern Texas. An attribution study showed that 3-day rainfall maximum was 3 times more likely because of climate change than it would have been otherwise. So then the question might arise, how certain are we of these attribution studies? Well, the World Meteorological Organization used the standard that the study must be peer-reviewed for us to include it in our annual reporting. So this is a standard which is similar to that used by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which also reviews primarily or exclusively peer-reviewed scientific literature. So that gives us a level of certainty that it is past scientific scrutiny. The last question you might have is, what might we expect in the future? Some of these types of events are more certain to occur than others. Temperature increase is certain to occur just because of the simple physics of greenhouse gases trapping more heat in the atmosphere. Sea level rise is more certain to occur because as ice melts and the oceans expand, the sea level rises. And there is also a general acceleration of the hydrologic cycle with more extreme wet periods when it's wet and more extreme dry periods when it's dry. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change tracks and reports and projects all of these changes, and if you want to know specific details for specific regions, you can consult that in the learning resources.